How's it going, ladies and bruises? I'm Bobby Sixkilla and welcome back to Route Double. We're on our way to the end, not the true end, but at least a good end. We have perhaps saved Kasasagi from Subject N in spirit in his brain. But we are about to return to the real world and we're going to find out, I guess, if we are going to survive or not. We're still following a guide, because this shit gets complicated. Just so you know, there's a lot of endings to get through. Let's carry on. Natsuhiko returned to reality once more. What he first saw was Watase. He'd collapsed onto the floor face down. Captain Kasasagi? Watase seemed to have fainted after Natsuhiko had erased his memory. When Natsuhiko tried to shake him awake, Watase got up with a groan. And then he glared at Natsuhiko. The malice didn't disappear? Natsuhiko quickly covered Yuri. But Watase muttered in confusion. What happened? What happened? I hated your guts just a second ago, but that hatred suddenly disappeared. At those words, Natsuhiko and Yuri looked at each other. We did it worked! Yeah, Captain Kasasagi's finally free from the malice. Hey, what do you mean, free from the malice? Explain what's going on. Well, actually, Natsuhiko explained the circumstances to the dumbfounded Watase. What they had learned from his memories, what had happened inside his brain, how Subject N had manipulated his memories and infected him with malice. After Watase had heard it all, he took a deep breath and spoke. So that's what happened, huh? So how you feeling, Captain Kasasagi? Like I just woke up from a long nightmare. But in any case, my memories mostly returned to normal, and the hatred ruling my mind is gone too. Watase's tone of voice was calm and composed. The madness had faded from his eyes. Thank goodness. Yuri sighed in relief, and Natsuhiko felt a weight off his shoulders as well. Everything seemed to be good considering Watase had returned to his original self, brimming with a sense of justice. Then, can I ask for your cooperation? My cooperation? I want your cooperation to protect Yuri and aid in her escape. I want to set Yuri free. A suspenseful silence spread through the shelter once more. Finally, Watase made up his mind and spoke up. I'm sorry, Natsuhiko, I can't do that. Huh? Captain Kasasagi, why? Even if my malice has disappeared, now that I have my memories back, I'm still a part of Q. Natsuhiko twitched at those words. Now that he thought about it, Watase's goal wasn't just to rescue the test subjects. His end goal was strictly to use the test subjects as living witnesses against Labo's crimes against humanity. But if that were the case, then that meant that even if Yuri escaped, it didn't necessarily mean she was free, naturally. It was most likely Q would take custody of her and have her cooperate with their activities. As Natsuhiko realized that possibility, Watase continued, I have a mission. A mission I must carry out no matter what. Kidnapping Yuri? Yeah. No, you can't mean that. You're really a gentle person on the inside, so why must you persist in such a thing? Exactly, I don't care how you sugarcoat it by calling it a mission. That doesn't change how it's terrorism. I understand that. No, you don't understand at all. While your memories were gone, you desperately tried to save everyone, didn't you? That was who you are by nature. I'm sure that was the true you, the one who succeeded Wataru's dying wish to become a rescue worker. Don't say that name like you knew her. You think you understand me? Of course I do, our minds were once one after all. Watase's eyes widened at those words. You wanted to save lives, didn't you? That desire was always on your mind ever since Wataru's death. Yeah. So please, just forget about your terrorist mission or whatever. You can still start over again, can't... Watase interrupted Natsuhiko with a depressed murmur. Maybe if my comrades hadn't died. 2 of my comrades died for this mission. Those 2, Dojima and Hiyama, were precious squad mates to me. We shared the same kind of upbringing, we shared the same job, we shared the same meals, and we saved each other's necks time and time again. Friends doesn't even begin to describe them. We were kindred souls, partners, family. So you see, Natsuhiko, I have to fulfill this mission. If I don't, then they died for nothing. Watase's sad words left Natsuhiko speechless. But even so, he squeezed out an earnest reply. You're wrong. How can you say I'm wrong? You saw my past, didn't you? Then you should be able to understand why I'm resorting to all this. Conventional methods won't change a goddamn thing. Watase was right. Natsuhiko understood Watase's feelings, whether he wanted to or not. However, but still, he really has changed. Regardless of whether or not he was affected by the malice contagion, Once Watase had regained his memory, the amnesiac Watase had disappeared. But at that moment, Yuri spoke up. I understand your point. Natsuhiko looked at Yuri in shock, and she made a brooding face. Let's make a deal, Captain Kasasagi. A deal? Yes, once this incident is over, I'll entrust myself to your care. What? Hand me over to Cure, whatever you please. But in return, cooperate to make sure everyone escapes. What are you saying, Yuri? Natsuhiko tried to stop her, but Yuri wouldn't pull back. It's okay, Hikarin. If I endure this, then nobody else has to get hurt. Yuri spoke with a smile. No, there's no way I can approve of this deal. But Natsuhiko could think of no other way to earn Watase's cooperation. Natsuhiko fell silent as Watase spoke up in a low voice. Yuri, I accept your deal. I promise to get everyone out of here alive. Please do, Captain Kasasagi. The deal was made without Natsuhiko having a say in any of it. Damn it, what do I do? Even if the two of them had consented to the deal, there was no way he could just sit back and watch as Watase took Yuri away. By no means could Natsuhiko turn a blind eye. I guess I've got no choice. If Watase insists on prioritizing that mission of his, then... half and half. Then there was a way to put a stop to him. Indeed, there was something Natsuhiko could do. If I just erase Watase's memory one more time, if I turn him back into an amnesiac rescue worker unaware that he's really a terrorist. But on the other hand, his mind hazed with the question of, is that really okay? Natsuhiko had erased Watase's memory multiple times before. Oh my god, we're doing it again? Half and half again. The damage from the erasures had accumulated, leaving Watase's brain at what might be its limit. So if Natsuhiko erases memories one more time, it could quite possibly be fatal. But that's the only way I can save Yuri. He could think of no other method. So at the end of his inner conflict, he was able to justify his conclusion. It's okay, I'm sure Watase's brain can withstand just one more erasure. Besides, it'd be for the best for Watase's sake as well. Because at heart, he's not a terrorist, but a rescue worker. When he lost his memories, Watase was a man among men, who risked his life to save others. And he was the same way before he learned the truth behind his family's death and joined Q for revenge. So once everything's over, I'll erase Watase's memory as a terrorist, returning him to how he was originally. And Watase will finally be free from all wicked intentions. Natsuhiko decided to believe his plan was the right thing to do. Besides, Watase might change his mind before we get out of Labo. It's a low possibility, but let's just hope for the best. And with that in mind, Natsuhiko called out to Watase. Why so quiet? Can't accept that I'll be taking Yuri with me? Of course I can't accept that. It's just, there's no time to argue about it now. I'll just go along with it for now. The deal's meaningless if we're all dead after all. Anyway, we don't have time. Let's plan our next course of action. Yeah, I got my memories back now, so let's think of things over once more. To come up with a way to ensure everyone escapes, right? The three of them nodded and came face to face. To ensure everyone escapes, first we need to do something about the ones that went crazy. So first of all, for the reason why they went crazy to begin with, it was a mystery up until recently, but now they knew. It's probably safe to assume that Subject N manipulated all of their memories, just like she did to you, Captain Kasasagi. Judging from what happened to me, just getting close to that girl is enough for her to rewrite your memories into a jumbled mess and plant malice inside your head. Subject N was most likely a communicator with tremendous power. You don't even have to get close to her, you just have to be in the mind of someone else who's been fucked up. She was an IGF2R gene abnormality type S communicator, whose ability was equal to, or perhaps even greater than Natsuhiko and Yuri's. Everyone who got too close to her became filled with malice, as if her malice truly infected them. So based on that, when do you think everyone else got infected with Subject N's malice? Watase, his comrades and the researchers got infected when they encountered Subject N in Area 0. But Jun and the others only saw Subject N's dead body, so she shouldn't have a chance to infect them. Yuri, about how far do you think Subject N's sense sympathy range was? Just a guess, but probably around 6 meters, I think. That's what the professor said a long time ago. There's another test subject with stronger abilities. Her sense sympathy range is 6 meters. In the absence of the melt effect, I personally have a range of 1 meter at best, so I think the limit is maybe around there. I see, so that's how it is. True enough, Natsuhiko himself couldn't use sense sympathy unless the target was close enough to touch them. In that case, Subject N shouldn't have been able to manipulate the other's memories from a distance. Just asking, but Were there any other communicators confined to Labo besides you and Subject N, Yuri? No, only the 2 test subjects, just like what you learned from Captain Kasasagi's memories. And the root of the problem must be Subject N, huh? So when were Jun and the others infected with malice? Watase quietly answered Natsuhiko's question. I think I might have a hunch. A hunch? You've seen all my actions so far, right, Natsuhiko? So you should know. We found Subject N's body several hours ago by the cargo lift, remember? Yeah, but what about it? All 6 of us were there at the time. And it was after that when everyone went crazy. Timing fits. Yeah, and like Enna said when we were in class, a powerful BC can leave a ghost of that energy. But a dead body using BC? What if Subject N wasn't dead yet? Natsuhiko shook his head. It can't be. Miss Tachibana confirmed her death, didn't she? That's right, her body was pretty much dead, that's for sure. But what if that was just right after her pulse and other vital signs had ceased, and her consciousness was still barely there? Huh? Natsuhiko was surprised for a second, but then he realized it was certainly a possibility. And using sense empathy, all vital signs dropped dramatically. So much so that they could possibly go undetected by the vital checker. Furthermore, that happened right when it was time for us to administer AD again. In other words, there was a window where AD had worn off. I quickly administered AD to me, Yuri, and Teach when the time came, but Tachibana and the others were busy with CPR, so they injected themselves late. So if you think about it, that would explain why Tachibana, Mortabe, and the old man Ukita were infected with malice, but the rest of us weren't. So at the verge of death, Subject N used the last of her strength to spread her malice into her surroundings. She was on the verge of death, yet she destroyed several people's personalities without letting any of them be aware of it. Now I can understand why those high-ranking researchers were afraid. This truly is an uncontrollable monster. Basically, Case N is the code to prevent her escape, right? Now that she mentioned it, she described her condition as being Nified. The N standing for nobody, or perhaps nucleus. She was designated Subject N, truly a fitting name for her. But what frightened Natsuhiko the most wasn't the strength of her ability. It was Subject N's malice itself, how it corroded the minds of every human around her. Then could it be that the bulkheads are under lockdown not to prevent my escape, but hers? Yeah, judging by the situation, it does seem very likely. Now that Natsuhiko thought about it, Subject N freely walking around a WX particle irradiated labo would indeed be worst case scenario. Without AD, there'd be no way to stop her BC. Yuri, did Mum or anyone else ever mention anything about how dangerous Subject N was? No, I haven't heard a thing. I knew I wasn't the only test subject, but labo policy prohibits test subjects from meeting each other. I always wanted to meet her since we've grown up in the same environment, but I never thought she'd be this dangerous. I see. The reason why you were prohibited contact with Subject N was probably to avoid you getting infected by her malice. Dojima probably got infected by her malice and shot Subject N in his madness. Now that Watase mentioned it, Natsuhiko remembered the tragic scene they saw in Area 3. 2 other people besides your comrades died in that room, right? The researchers looking guys. Well, I don't know about them. Maybe some researchers happened to be present when the malice-infected Dojima tried to shoot Subject N and they tried to stop him. Or maybe the researchers were infected with malice too, and they all tried to kill each other. What about Hiyama? His legs were broken, but he died in a different location. Maybe N got away, so he tried to chase her down and kill her. But along the way his legs broke and he got burned to death, which would make Subject N the root of his death as well. Did Subject N harbour so much malice as to cause all those tragedies? If that were the case, then Jun and Ukita could start killing each other too. Everyone was already in a critical situation. Balance was barely being maintained by how the brunt of everyone's anger was directed towards Watase. We need to do something quick. Yeah, there's also the matter of the bomb set in Area 0. It's set to go off right after the lockdown lifts. So if we all want to survive, we need to escape as soon as the bulkheads open. I really regret our actions in that regard. There's no point apologizing about it now. Let's focus on finding out how to evacuate everyone safely now. Yuri spoke in an oddly strict tone of voice for her. It seemed even she could get angry. Watase answered with a bitter look on his face. Sorry, you're right. I plan to do everything I can to ensure our escape. Before the bomb goes off, let's capture everyone, tie them up and wait for the bulkheads to open. I'd love to, but that seems a little difficult. Carrying several bound people out of Labo seemed like an impossible task, considering Natsuhiko's full of bullet holes. Yeah. Furthermore, Ukita, Jun and Kazami are all armed. And their party included 2 wounded kids and a girl. The only one with a fighting chance was Watase. But even so, we would have to do it. Natsuhiko resolved himself. And he looked at Yuri. She too had the look of determination on her face. Hikarin, I'll join you. Natsuhiko nodded and addressed Watase. Captain Kasasagi, can you bring us to everyone else? What's your plan? Isn't it obvious? We're going to remove everyone's malice and return them to their original selves. Can you pull it off? That means you'll have to fight the monster that was inside my mind again and again. We don't have a choice. Sure, I'll have to confront her again and again, and my mind may be corroded by the malice. But it's an indispensable step for everyone's escape. I want to save everyone, not just Yuri. Watase furrowed his eyebrows at Natsuhiko's answer. I see, but still, there's no need for you two to come with me. I'll leave the shelter alone and bring everyone here. You're what? It's suicide to walk around the facility with those wounds of yours, and it's dangerous to take Yuri too. It's best you kids stay here. I see. True enough, nobody else knew about the shelter's existence but Ukita. So long as they captured him, they'd be safe there. So basically, you'll take everyone to the shelter and Yuri and I will remove their malice. We'll repeat that plan until we've gotten everyone, correct? Exactly. All three of them were necessary for this plan. Natsuhiko, Yuri and Watase. If any one of them were to betray the others, the plan would fail. Natsuhiko held that thought as the conversation continued. Good grief, looks like we're in the same boat again, huh? Yeah, if you and I don't cooperate, then the plan to return everyone back to normal's a bust. Yeah, I'm a little concerned that you'll betray us, though. Yuri tugged on Natsuhiko's sleeve when he said that. It's okay, Hikarin. I'm sure he'll pull through for us. Let's believe in Captain Kasasagi. Natsuhiko's heart ached at those words. Obviously he understood. He knew that Watase was, by nature, a trustworthy human being. Regardless of his mission or status as a terrorist, he would surely honour his promise to protect Natsuhiko and Yuri. No, even without that promise, he may have already been considering how to get everyone out of there alive. Natsuhiko sighed and spoke to Watase. Hey, Captain Kasasagi. I hate you. What? Shouldn't it be obvious? While you may have been infected with malice, you did try to kill us just because we're communicators. Furthermore, though it may be for your mission, there's no way I'd like someone who's going to take Yuri away. Maybe you're right. That is inexcusable. But don't worry, I don't like you either. You mess around inside people's heads and change things however you please. Do you know how much trouble you put me through? Yeah, I guess it was a little inexcusable of me, huh? The two of them faintly smiled as they held that conversation. Right now, Natsuhiko and Watase were completely mismatched. But there was something they needed to do that neither of them could do alone. Something they needed to join forces to do. And as they shared in that joint role, they both shared a smile. Captain Kasasagi, from here on out, we're equals. Let's each fulfill our roles to the best of our ability. Of course. Oh, and drop the formalities. Let's be casual here. At Watase's request, Natsuhiko responded in the tone they'd always been using when speaking inside Watase's head. Got it, we're counting on you, Watase. Yeah, leave it to me. And with that exchange, Natsuhiko and Watase made a firm handshake. Dude, that one was so cool. That was so cool. Chapter 3. I like that one. That was badass. Once he and Natsuhiko had formed their pact to team up, Watase first retrieved his gun from Natsuhiko. He figured he'd need a weapon for self-defense, since he didn't know what dangers were lurking out there. Natsuhiko had been a bit reluctant, but he ultimately complied. Watase then addressed the two kids before he left them in the shelter. Just to reiterate, you guys mustn't leave here at all. We don't know for sure who's been infected with malice, so we don't know what thoughts are driving them either. Consider everyone except for me to be an enemy. Yeah, I know. The shelter door only opens if you punch in the password from the inside, and we're not going to be dumb enough to do that unless you call for us. Natsuhiko was no longer speaking formally with Watase. Alright, Gillis, this is just how he normally talks to people. Besides, it would have been weird for him to treat Watase with respect when he's the terrorist who attacked Yuri and shot him and Mashido. It felt odd to Watase having kids their age treat him like an equal, but this way probably fit Watase and Natsuhiko's relationship better anyway. Okay, I'll be counting on you, Watase. Make sure to keep your promise with Yuri. Of course. Okay, then I'm off now. Take care, Yuri. Take care of Yuri. Watase was about to run past the steel door when he heard a voice call out to him from behind. Captain Kasasagi? Please be careful, okay? Yeah. Watase gave a wry smile and left the shelter. He thought back to the conversation he'd had with Natsuhiko earlier as he walked with extreme caution. Keep your promise, huh? Went without saying that Watase intended to do so. He never planned on getting others involved with his terrorist plot to begin with. Since he was the one who had inadvertently dragged everyone into this mess, he had a responsibility to get them out of the facility safely. But he had qualms about his mission to take Yuri away with him once he'd escaped. It was true that he'd have caused this whole incident for absolutely nothing if he didn't bring at least one test subject back. And then the Rokume city government's wrongdoings would never come to light, and their cover-ups would just continue unabated. But was Yuri really okay with going with him? And what about Natsuhiko? Naturally, there was no chance in hell he wanted that. Completing the mission might necessitate another confrontation with him. But that was all in the future. For now, all he had to think about was living up to his word with Natsuhiko and keeping his promise with Yuri. So to do that, first thing I have to do is collect all the guns still lying around the facility. Much like him, Dojima and Hiyama also brought guns into the facility. If no one had picked them up yet, then that means they're still lying around somewhere. Well, Ukita's got one of them. Oh no, that might have been Enna's one. Watase headed to Area 3 with that thought in mind. B1 Area 3 in a room. He went back to the room full of corpses. He hadn't yet examined the place in detail. The room was littered with bodies of Dojima and the two unknown researchers, unmoved from where they'd seen them last. All the blood staining the place had completely dried up and turned black. A dull yet fierce pain stung at Watase's heart when he saw the wretched form of his friend. Dojima. Watase started to break out into choked sobs. When Watase had amnesia, he hadn't felt the sorrow of having lost his best friend of 10 years, but now it burst through like a waterfall. They'd been fighting side by side ever since they joined the fire department. They both passed the rescue worker exam in the same year. It wasn't long before their junior Hiyama joined in, and with their similar pasts, the three of them became brothers in arms who understood each other well. Now they were both dead. Dojima's body lay before him and Hiyama's only an area away, but no matter how painful their loss was, now is not the time for grief. Dojima, Hiyama, I'll carry on your dying wishes. I'll make sure that they're fulfilled. Watase muttered that and looked up. He then endured his sorrow and began diligently searching the room. It wasn't long before he found two pistols lying around, one in the corner of the room, the other under the desk. They were both NZ-75s, just like Watase's. There was no doubt that they were Dojima and Hiyama's. But they were both out of bullets, huh? Dojima and Hiyama, infected with malice, had likely used up all their bullets on the researchers. They are full of bullet holes, and yet in spite of that, Subject N had gotten away. I guess the malice contagion causes you to lose your composure too. But you couldn't help it, could you, Dojima? We're rescue workers. We never learned how to kill people. Watase looked at the corner of the room with those bitter thoughts in mind. The broken jackhammer was sitting there. It was essential to their plan escaping through the pipe. But even if he could repair it, it would take about 3 hours for it to destroy the pump and the intake pipe. They wouldn't make it in time before the bomb went off. Worst comes to worst, do we need to find another escape route aside from the pipe? But where could they even find one? Watase exited the corpse-littered room as he left that thought in the corner of his mind. Once he was out in the hallway, he threw the two empty pistols to the floor. He then stomped on them with all his might with his safety boots, destroying both guns and the magazines. That way he didn't have to worry about someone picking them up later and misusing it. That means the only guns left are my own and the old man has. It was a silver lining that many people had gotten their hands on guns. Now that he neutralized the threat those guns posed, Watase decided it was finally time to start searching for the people infected with malice. Alright, the first one I should catch is old man Ukita. This place is huge though. So to find him, Watase thought, then soon found an answer. The surveillance room. There were still several live monitors there. If he used those, he could gain a slightly better idea of what was going on at the facility at the moment. He headed off to the surveillance room with that thought. He slowly went down the staircase, being particularly careful to remain hidden and silent. His greatest fear was Ukita suddenly shooting him from a distance. It would actually be advantageous for Watase if he was able to physically spot Ukita first. It would probably take him time to reload bullets too. So I should just run up to him and throw him to the floor. Watase had trained in martial arts ever since he joined Q. Now that his memories were back, he fully remembered how to use all those skills. Never thought I'd have to use them on the old man though. He finished descending the staircase when he thought that. And just as he left the stairwell, Watase heard a familiar voice. Sagi is with you too? No, he's a traitor. He heard voices apparently coming from the room right next to the staircase, the surveillance room. Those voices, isn't that old man and Teach? Shit, Teach is in danger. Watase frantically dashed for the door to the surveillance room and opened it up. Stop it, old man, don't hurt Watase gasped before he completed the sentence. He had been rendered speechless by the most unexpected scene unfolding before him. Ina and Ukita turned around in surprise. It wasn't Ukita who was attacking Ina, it was Ina who was pointing a gun at Ukita. What the hell? What's going on? Captain Kasasagi, you... Ina glared at Watase with hostility. She's gonna shoot? Watase drew his body back in surprise, only for Ina to run out of the room after a moment's hesitation. What the hell was that all about? Watase stood there in shock. Just then Ukita started talking to him in a low voice. That woman wasn't a mere teacher at all. What? I tried to take her magazine from her, but then she ended up stealing the gun from me. Then she threatened me. She said she'd tell me everything you know right now or I'll shoot to kill. Her intent to kill was the real thing. Next thing I knew, I was confessing everything to her. All about the terrorist plot and how you betrayed us halfway through. The plan's a failure. It's all over thanks to you. Ukita lunged at Watase as he shouted that. What? You've got a gun too, right? Give it to me now. That woman is probably an assassin sent by Labo. If we don't hunt her down and kill her now, she'll kill us. Ukita tried to steal Watase's gun with bloodshot eyes. It was clear he was completely possessed by madness. Damn it, is this also the Malice's influence? Watase dodged around Ukita with little effort and circled behind him. He then wrapped his arm around the old man's neck and squeezed. It was a sleeper hold, a technique to render someone powerless without actually harming them. Ukita's arm soon dangled limply. Whew, this should be fine, right, Natsuhiko? Watase sighed heavily and picked up Ukita, then ran back to the shelter. Meanwhile, Natsuhiko was in the shelter with Yuri. The two of them were gazing at Mashido's face. Mashido was groaning in pain. Mashido looks like she's in pain, huh? Yeah. Natsuhiko was frustrated at being powerless to help her. There were so many things that he wanted to talk about when she woke up. He wanted to tell her that Yuri was alive. Hey Mashido, this must be how you felt 9 years ago, huh? This is what it must have felt like to watch me stupefied, unable to wake up. That incident had shattered their daily lives. Natsuhiko became stupefied once he was told of Yuri's death, and when he woke up, he started to see a phantom. The three kids who had once been together had become distant in many ways. But after such a long time, we're finally all together again, and yet... Mashido had watched over Natsuhiko until his time of awakening came, and now Mashido was the one lying down, wakeless. What if, before Mashido woke up, Watase handed Yuri over to Q and she was taken away somewhere? Those two best friends might never meet again. Yuri, are you sure you're okay with it? You mean the deal with Captain Kasasagi? Yeah, at this rate, that might mean you have to part with Mashido too, you know? Just how sad would it make you to hear about everything after the fact? Yuri suddenly sighed in reply. You know, Hikaden, I'm sure it might make Mashido sad, but sadness is only temporary, you know? Huh? Well, I'm sure she'll have mixed feelings about knowing that I'm alive. Why's that? Why's that? You can't tell me you haven't noticed it, can you, Can you? Mashido really loves you, you know? She loves you so much she risked her life to come with you all the way to Labo. But if I were to suddenly appear and steal you away after all of that, then Mashido would get mad. Hey, hold on, Yuri. Of course, the deal with Captain Kasasagi was to ensure everyone got saved, but it's also a good opportunity for me to back off too. With me out of the way, you and Mashido can be together. Yeah, so it really is the best course of... What are you saying, idiot? Natsuhiko couldn't bear to listen anymore, so he interrupted her. Idiot? Yuri's eyes widened. It was understandable. This is the first time Natsuhiko had ever badmouthed her. But nonetheless, Natsuhiko hardened his heart and continued. Yuri, don't you know? Don't you know just how much Masato loved you? Do you know how much it pained her heart to learn that you had died? But that was ages ago. Who cares about a dead friend who's been gone a whole 9 years? Besides, Mashidon's a way more amazing girl than me. There's no way a girl like her would care about someone like me forever. After all, Mashidon's so cute and cheerful and popular with all the boys. None of that matters to her, and you know it, don't you? Yuri pouted her lips. It was a conversation 9 years in the making. Natsuhiko and Yuri were speaking not through BC, but with their own voices, not through lies and falsehoods, but from the heart. Masato would always communicate with you through me. You're not just some 9-year-old dead friend to her at all. She still cares about you. There's no way in hell Masato would be upset to learn you're alive. So please stop this nonsense about backing off for Masato's sake. I'm sure that's actually the one thing she'd hate the most. But Yuri looked more and more confused. Natsuhiko sighed. So Yuri, can you please drop this mindset that it's okay to suffer as long as nobody else has to? Huh? I'm not just talking about the thing with Masato. You're like that with Watase's deal too. You were confined here for 9 years and at the end of all that you fall into Q's hands. You're not okay with that, are you? I don't want you to go through that again. I want to set you free. Once Natsuhiko had said that, Yuri smiled ever so slightly. If only. If only I could go outside, bask in the light of the sun and walk freely in the park. I'm sure it'd be fun. If only I could go on a trip somewhere with you and Masato and Saliu, and the professor too. Then, Yuri interrupted Natsuhiko when he tried to speak. But I can't. Even if we disregard Mashidon's feelings, I really still can't be with you guys. Why not? Because I'm a test subject. Labo has their eye on me. You don't know just how frightening Labo can be. They're an institution that's confined people for years on end, you know. They could even be above the police for all we know. Even if you stood against Labo as an individual, you'd have no chance to succeed, he couldn't. Only organizations can oppose organizations. So you see, that's why, if I want to leave here, I have no choice but to let Q take custody of me. Natsuhiko was speechless in light of Yuri's sad words. Now he understood why she'd been so obstinate. She didn't want to get Natsuhiko or Mashino involved. But still in the end, that still means Yuri has to endure suffering all by herself, doesn't it? Once that thought crossed Natsuhiko's mind, he suddenly heard a sound coming from outside the shelter door. Who's there? It's me, please open up. It was Watase. Relieved, Natsuhiko input the password on the keypad beside the door. Soon enough, the iron door opened and Watase appeared. Look who I brought! Watase was carrying a limp Ukita under his arm. Mr. Ukita! Relax, he's just unconscious. Watase gently laid Ukita down on the floor, and sure enough, Ukita had not a single visible wound. Natsuhiko was unsure exactly how Watase had apprehended him, but it couldn't have been easy to apprehend someone who had a gun without hurting them, could it? Well, now you see exactly what my stance is, don't you? Watase? Watase had kept his promise with Yuri. Evacuate everyone safely. It seemed Watase was striving to make sure nobody got hurt during the process either. Damn, I'm not sure if this guy's got integrity or what. Well, Natsuhiko found himself at a loss for words. Yuri spoke for him. Captain Kasasagi? Thank you for keeping your promise. Watase looked uncomfortable and just turned up his nose. Anyway, if you're gonna do it, then just do it already. That malice erasure thing. There's no doubt that the monster's screwing around inside the old man's head. He'll probably go berserk again the moment he wakes up, and that's definitely going to be a pain. Yeah. Natsuhiko had seen a deranged Ukita up close too. He was no doubt infected with malice, but I won't do something as crude as a full memory erasure anymore. That was the decision Natsuhiko had made. He would erase only the malice within Ukita, in the same way he'd done with Watase. Let's go with this procedure. First we repair any of the memories altered by Subject N that are serving as the root of Mr. Ukita's malice. After that we erase Subject N's spirit. Yuri, what memory access criteria do you think I should use to erase the malice in Mr. Ukita? Let's see. First, to understand Mr. Ukita's intentions, we should take a chronological look through his memories leading up to today pertaining to his motive for causing this terrorist attack. And then, we search for the floral-scented memories and repair them. That's what I think. I see. We can't repair his memories if we don't know what intentions motivated his actions, can we? And with that, we're going to wrap this one up here, and in the next one we're going to jump in, dive into Mr. Ukita's head, and try and fix his broken brain. I'm sure that'll go swimmingly. It looks like we got quite a few people's brains to fix, so it's going to take some time, but we will get there. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one.